This year I've been learning data visualization, finger drumming, and even the psychology of magic tricks, because I could feel my brain slipping fast. It's not failing, but drifting. And I knew that if I didn't intervene, I'd lose something important. The philosopher Bertrand Russell put it bluntly, most people would sooner die than think. And honestly, in the age of infinite scrolling, that doesn't feel like a joke. It feels like a diagnosis. So in this video, I want to show you how I started to fight back through intentional self-education and the 4-step method you can use to rebuild deep thinking again. Now, I've never considered myself a heavy social media user, but post-COVID, scrolling became comforting, predictable, easy. One short video becomes 5, then 10, then an hour long. It didn't feel harmful, it felt like a harmless background noise. But background noise, if it never stops, becomes the soundtrack of your mind. Slowly, I started noticing changes. I read fewer books, I stopped journaling, my creative ideas evaporated, and the worst part, I couldn't stay with a single thought long enough to deepen it. The question that haunted me was, how do I get back the version of myself who used to think deeply? Surprisingly, the answer was something I've loved my whole life, learning, but not academic learning, self-directed learning. Now, did you know brain rot was Oxford's 2024 Word of the Year? Which probably tells us something about our cultural moment. But what does brain rot actually mean? It's not literal decay, it's not your brain turning to mush, it's cognitive neglect. Learning scientists would describe it this way: shallow processing becomes your default, working memory gets overloaded, sustained attention weakens, and deep comprehension feels harder. And here's a big one: your brain optimizes for whatever you do most often. See, the brain strengthens what it uses and prunes what it doesn't. So short, fast, frictionless content trains your brain to expect more of that content. That's why reading feels harder now, why long videos feel like a chore, why thinking deeply feels rusty. Do we have definitive peer-reviewed studies saying TikTok causes cognitive decline? No, not yet. But we do have other research that gives us plenty of warning in this regard. And we have decades of research showing that deep thinking requires cognitive load. Memory builds through retrieval. Creativity needs boredom. And focus is a muscle, not a personality trait. In other words, your brain isn't rotting, it's adapting, but to the wrong environment. So maybe the right response is self-education. It works because it creates the opposite environment. It's slow, deep, curious, friction-filled, active, and reflective. It asks something of me and you. It gives your brain something to push against, and friction is where thinking lives. Research on lifelong learning shows it increases critical thinking, creativity, memory, problem-solving, emotional resilience. But here's something we don't talk enough about. Self-education is one of the few places left where intrinsic motivation thrives. There's no grades, no deadlines, no approvals, and no performance metrics. It's just based on curiosity. When I started to learn finger drumming, I wasn't doing it for research or teaching or tenure. I did it because it lit up a part of my brain that had gone quiet. And that feeling, that spark, is something that algorithm can't steal unless we hand it over. So here's a simple method to guide my own self-education. It's not complicated, it's human, and I call it the REAP method. First, recognize your interest signals. Adults often start with what they should learn: Spanish, coding, Excel macros. But real self-education begins by noticing what makes you pause. Your curiosity leaves breadcrumbs, so follow those. Second, establish your core resources. The internet is filled with information. You don't need 200 tabs open, but you need 3 anchors. Say, a foundational text, an expert, and a community. These 3 things keep you grounded and prevents you from being overwhelmed. Apply through teaching or making. Here's where learning sticks. If you really want to learn something, teach it to a friend or your journal, self-teach. Teach it to a camera, using your notes. Teach it to imaginary students. This is essentially retrieval practice, elaboration, dual coding, and metacognition wrapped into one. If you can explain it simply, you understand it deeply. Pause and reflect. Metacognition is the superpower of learning. So ask yourself weekly questions, such as, what did I learn? What confused me? What changed my perspective? What am I curious about now? Reflection transforms information into wisdom. Now, a few things to watch out for. You start excited, then you hit the awkward middle stage, the plateau, or maybe you just don't feel motivation anymore. This isn't failure, it's neuroplasticity. So ask yourself, do I love this enough to survive being bad at it? And if yes, keep going with your learning. Another consideration, if you're chasing novelty in what you're learning, it's the learning equivalent of scrolling. But if you crave variety, vary the method, not the topic. So choose one subject to learn and have multiple approaches. This will be depth and novelty. Now, at the start of this journey, I kept asking, how do I get back to who I used to be? I was trying to return to the version of myself who thought deeply, who wasn't constantly scattered, who could sustain attention long enough to transform information into insight, into wisdom. Self-education didn't just make me smarter, it made me feel like myself again. And if you're still watching this video, I suspect you feel the same way. Curious, thoughtful, hungry for depth, maybe a little tired of shallow content and ready to reclaim your mind. We can't stop the algorithm from fighting for our attention, but we can rebuild the kind of mind that can fight back. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What's one subject you've always secretly wanted to learn? If you enjoyed the video, liking it genuinely helps the channel and supports the educational content I create. See you next time.